This presentation was recorded at MVCConf. For more content like this, go to www.mvcconf.com. JetBrains, the leading vendor of professional development tools, now offers a range of new products for .NET developers. In addition to ReSharper, the top-class productivity extension for Visual Studio, you can now use .cover to run coverage analysis for your applications, .trace to find performance bottlenecks, and use TeamCity and UTrack for a perfect combination of continuous integration and issue tracking software. Go to www.jetbrains.com for more information.
Hey guys, how you doing? In this session, we have Ambrish Mishra. Ambrish is a senior program manager in SQL Server Compact product development team based at Microsoft's India Development Center in Hyderabad. He has managed multiple releases of SQL Server Compact, including versions 3.0, 3.1, 3.5, and 4.0 CTP1. Ambrish is actively engaged in developer evangelism and interfaces closely with the customers, ISVs, and SIs to understand the problem areas and the pain points of SQL Server Compact. Based on the feedback, the next versions of SQL Server Compact are engineered to reduce complexity, to improve performance, and to provide greater flexibility while retaining the small footprint of the database. Ambrish, go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. Great to have all of you here. So SQL Server Compact is the new kid on the block. This is probably the first invitation or the introduction that we are doing for Compact in the ASP.NET Web Applications world. We want to actually, interface more closely with you to understand, how do you want to use Compact, where do you want to use Compact, how well can you use Compact, and what are the areas where you want to see improvements. So in this particular session, we are going to go over the Compact features. We will look at the reasons why you would want to use Compact in ASP.NET Web Applications. I will walk through a couple of demos about how we can develop and deploy the applications, and then we'll look at some of the new features that we have built just for the use for the ASP.NET development community. So at the end of this session, we hope that you will start using Compact if you have not done so, and we look forward to getting feedback from you. So this is one of the pictorial ways of trying to give some idea about how the SQL Server, the highest queues of SQL Server and SQL Server Compact measure up. Basically, they are part of the same family. They serve different purposes, And SQL Server is built for enterprise databases, and SQL Server Compact is a small embedded database which supports a subset of T-SQL syntax as supported by SQL Server, and which also has a lot of innovative and interesting features like ease of deployment, ease of development. If we look at the different areas where Compact can be deployed, so Compact has a large deployment base, and with the Compact 4.0 CDP1, which has gone live a few weeks back, we are enabling whole new scenario, which is the starter websites. So currently, if you look at the places where Compact is being used, it is right from the different places like embedded devices, mobile devices, desktop, and Windows CE devices or Windows mobile devices. If you look at the server side, then you will see that Compact is being used. You will see that SQL Server is being used across different servers, starting from the desktop, mid-range servers and data centers. So the footprint of Compact is huge, and the use of Compact is also quite huge. And the main scenarios that Compact is servicing is basically to be a local data store and to sync that data back to the SQL Server. In case of starter websites, the primary scenario is basically to use Compact as a database store for the websites. So we'll briefly go over, what is Compact. So Compact is a 2 megabytes embedded in-process database. This means that Compact runs within the process of the application or the website itself. It supports a subset of the T-SQL syntax that is supported by SQL Server, and it also supports a subset of the data types. We have been in the market for almost last 10 years, and we have not heard back from anyone that the data types and the SQL syntax that we support are not sufficient for fulfilling the needs of the application development world. One of the most interesting aspects of Compact is that it can be deployed along with the application itself, so it can be deployed within the application folders. So there is no need to actually install Compact on a machine, and there is no requirement for admin rights for the Compact. The places where it is currently being used is on mobile devices, embedded devices, and there are a lot of different products in Microsoft like Windows Vista, Media Center, MSN Client. They are also using Compact for storing the data as a local database store. So the local database store scenario is not new to Compact. We have been already working in that. And the requirements that are coming from the website world, the ASP.NET world, are quite similar to the requirements that we have seen in terms of the line of business applications, where Compact or these kind of applications like MSN Client or Windows Media Player, where Compact is a local store. It is a default client database offering in Visual Studio 2010, so it has a great development story and it has got a lot of designer support. The primary scenarios are that it can be used to store data and it can sync that data back to the server. There are cases where we have seen that Compact is being used to be a persistent database for in-memory databases, and it can also be thought of as a structured document format. What we mean here is that every application, whether it is a website or it is a desktop application or a mobile device application, needs to store some data. They can store that in simple text files or in XML files or in some proprietary binary format. If the applications start using Compact for storing that data, then that data becomes much more easier to manage because Compact is a database, and that database also can be reused in different places. So rather than using these kind of intermediate or binary formats or text format, Compact can be the database that can be used with all the different applications out there. This touches a little bit on the history of Compact. It has been there for the last 10 years. It started off as an embedded database for devices. Then in the release of Compact 3.1, it was unlocked for the desktop in 2006, and subsequently it has been integrated with Visual Studio. There has been a lot of work in syncing data to the server, SQL Server. There is a 64-bit support which has been added in 2008. So it natively supports 64-bit platform, And right now, the most interesting scenario is the starter websites or the ability to use Compact in ASP.NET web applications. And there is CTP out right now. So these were some of the historical perspective about Compact, what exactly it is, where it is getting deployed. So we have not changed the genesis, or we have not changed the G's of Compact. We have just built them so that the ASP development community will find it easier and useful to use it. So we just want to put forward the reasons that why you want to consider using Compact. So the first thing is, there are a lot of databases out there, and there are a lot of great databases out there. Compact is small in size, 2 to 2.5 megabytes. It can be downloaded very easily, and when you install it on your machine, you don't actually need to configure anything. It just installs and it's ready for use. There's a great development and deployment story in Visual Studio, and when you develop an app and if you want to deploy it, let's say when you develop a website and if you want to deploy it, actually you can deploy the Compact DLLs as part of that website in the bin folder. So you have a website, you developed it, you want to deploy it to a third-party website hosting provider. You actually don't need to get a database connection string from them. You can just deploy Compact DLLs along with your website, and your website should be up and running. So Compact is just like another component of your website. It's embedded in the application or the ASP.NET website, and there is no process overhead. So it's not running a separate process. So there is nothing like you are communicating between two different processes using some TDS protocol or some kind of process memory communications. So basically there is no process overhead. One of the interesting things is that Compact supports multiple read and write connections. So Compact has an engine which has the isolation semantics built into it. There is a lock manager in it, so you can read to this database and you can write and read to this database at the same time. So it's not like you are locked out when somebody else is writing. And this is all available because of the lock manager that we have. So the Compact locking is done at a row level. So if somebody is updating a particular row, if a thread is updating a particular row, then other threads will not get access to that row until that operation is complete. But those other threads can write to other rows, or they can read other rows. One other interesting point is that as the demands grows, as you believe, as you get a lot more users start using your website, there is a seamless migration of schema and data to SQL Server. This is using the Web Deploy tool, which ships independently, which ships with the Visual Studio, and which is also shipping with the Web Matrix beta as of now. So Compact is actually a fully functional embedded database, and it has support for indexes, differential integrity, constraints. It has it has unique constraints. You can have analytic columns. So it's a fully functional embedded database. One of the main things that people see in 4.0 is that if you run it in ASP.NET web applications, you don't get an error which says that Compact is not supported under web hosting. Please don't use it, because we don't know what will happen if you use it. So I have a demo down the line where we'll see this error coming up. So that thing is gone, which means that we support it. We know what we are supporting also. So that means we have certified and tested it for ASP.NET web applications. It works in Medium Trust. So Compact has a managed layer, and it has got natively DLLs. And the native DLLs and the managed layers, they can both work in Medium Trust. And the reason that happens is that the native assemblies of Compact have been attributed with the APTCA attribution, which allows it to work in Medium Trust. There is a whole process around getting this APTCA attribution. It's not arbitrarily done. There's a lot of security reviews happen. A bunch of people look at the code, and then they see that it works fine. So there's a long drawn process to make Compact work in Medium Trust. It's been tuned for stress and performance for website load, and that is where our confidence is that this product will work well in websites. One thing to remember is that the maximum limits of Compacts are still there. So one of the things is that Compact can only support 4 GB databases. So if you have a database requirement of 4.1 GB, Compact 4.0 at this point cannot support it. It only supports a maximum of 256 concurrent connections at the same time. And there are other limits like 124, 1024, 1024 columns per table, 249 indexes per table. So the important things to from a ASP.NET web application perspective is that 4 GB database size and 256 concurrent connections. And we expect that the major usage of Compact will be in starter websites, which are expected to have low load, including concurrent loads. Okay, so basically we have looked at the reasons where we believe that the development community will, like to use Compact. Let's start looking at what is required to develop ASP.NET web applications with Compact. So we have a whole set of tooling for Compact in Visual Studio. Right now, the release we have in the the SQL Server Compact 4.0 CTP1 does not have a corresponding release for Visual Studio 2010. So some of the things which I will show are not available right now, but we are working on them, and they should be there, available. There should be an update to Visual Studio available later in the year, by using which you can work with Compact 4.0. So if you look at the current tooling which is there in VS 2010, we already have support for Server Explorer, Query Designer, and there is a Transact SQL editor which can be used to run T-SQL queries against Compact. Some of the new designers and tooling that we will see in Visual Studio specifically for ASP.NET applications is the web forms, the ability to drag and drop SQL Server Compact tables from the Server Explorer and web forms, ability to use Compact with web deploy. And we have some of these existing designers which will be enabled and tested and certified for web projects, which are like Dataset Configuration Entity Framework. Some of the interesting things from a website development perspective is that there will be new item templates for Compact in web projects, so you should be able to add Compact in your projects and use them. We'll see a demo of that shortly. And you can also add SDF files in your data folders of website. One of the things which is critical is the ability to use Compact in the Visual Web Developer Express. Right now, Compact is already available in the paid SKUs of VS, Pro, Premium, Ultimate, and the free SKUs, which is C# and VB Express. It's not there in VWD Express as of now. In the update that will come later this year, that will also be made available there. Okay, so without further ado, let's start seeing some of these interesting things that we have right now. So I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, so I've shared my desktop, and what we are going to do is we'll look at Visual Studio, and we'll see how you can use Visual Studio with Compact 4.0 to design, develop your ASP.NET application. So this is the VS 2010 RTM version. I have installed a couple of updates so that I can work with Compact 4.0. Okay. I got a request for sharing my computer. I think that might just be a false alarm. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start using some of these designers which are there for ASP.NET web application. I'm going to use those designers to develop apps for SQL Server Compact 4.0. So let's start off with a new project. So let me do a new website. And I have the empty website, the default website available here. So what I'm going to do is that I will open up this toolbox here, and I will try to tie a data grid view with a Compact, and there are two different things we'll do here. We'll do an entity framework model, and then we'll see how it works. Then we'll do a dataset type dataset, configuration for Compact, and we'll see how it works. So right now I have a grid view on this.
Hey, Ambrish. We're not currently seeing anything but your desktop. You have two screens, possibly?
Okay.
We just see a bunch of icons.
Okay, just. Are you seeing something now?
No, actually. Just see the desktop. Actually, it almost looks like your refresh is not happening.
Okay, so let me share it again then. Okay, so I'm not able to share right now. I think I have lost control, it looks like.
Okay, let me take a look.
Okay, let me try to share my desktop right now and see if you can see it.
Okay. It looks like you're still presenter, but I see a slide. Actually, yeah, something's coming up now.
Are you able to see now?
I see a black screen, and that's it. So I'm wondering if I'm not seeing anything.
Are you able to see anything now? Or?
Okay, your icons are coming up.
Okay.
Seems like it's really slow, though.
Okay. Okay, so let me do it this way. I'll move on to the other laptop machine. That might be faster.
Okay.
Okay, just give me a second. Okay, can you see it now?
I do. Looks much better. It does look like
Okay.
your resolution is pretty big. Some people are complaining they only see the top left corner of your screen.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, I'll reduce that.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just go back into this machine where I've been working. Okay, so we are back in business. Can you see this Visual Studio screen?
I see it, but again, the resolution seems to be a little bit big. If you could just reduce the desktop resolution.
Okay. So let me do it this way. I can. Okay, because this is actually on a remote machine, so are a lot of people facing this problem, or?
Most likely everybody. It's not horrible. We're only missing the maybe a couple inches off the right and the bottom.
Okay. So that's fine. I will.
Yeah,
I'll put it. Yeah. Okay. So let me do it this way. Let me start it off again. Okay, so this is Visual Studio 2010, and what we are trying to do here is that we will see how we can develop compact applications in VS 2010. So I've got a couple of extra updates installed on this machine which are not released right now, which will come later in the year. But from this discussion purposes, what I will do is that I'm going to start up a new project, a new website. I'll just accept all the defaults. So this is my default page. Welcome to ASP.NET, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do here is I want to look at two different designers that are there, the Entity Framework Designer, the first one, and the second one is basically the Dataset Designer. And I'm going to pull data out of Compact into a grid view using a Dataset Designer and Entity Designer. So I'm just going to drop a grid view here and wire up Entity Framework model to my Compact database. So let me do a add new item. So I will select area.NET Entity Data Model Wizard from here, and this gives me warnings which are okay. So one of the interesting things is that when I do a new connection, this is a screen that we all know. I see actually two different connections here. One is for 3.5, another is for 4.0, and the version that I'm going to work with is 4.0. So let me just browse here and use one of the sample databases which I have for 4.0. One thing to remember is that 3.5 database files do not work with 4.0 and vice versa. So if you want to use a 3.5 database file with 4.0, you need to upgrade it. And that upgrade can be done through this particular UI we are seeing, or you can do it also programmatically using SQL engine.upgrade API. So yeah, it works fine. So here I am doing the EDM data model wizard for Compact 4.0. So let me just select customers here. So I'm going to create a data model from my database, Compact database, and it's generating that model. So here I can see the model has been generated. So let me go ahead and wire up that model which I have just generated to the data grid view which I have here. So I go here and I select a new data source here. Entity data model is what I have just created. So let me select that. So I created a data model, entity data model for my customers table in my Northwind sample database. So I just wired it up to this particular grid view. Now let me run it. Okay, So let me just run it. So basically what it did was it was able to wire up the data grid view to my data in my customer's database using the Entity Framework model. So when I use Entity Framework, basically my code is mobile. So this website, when I am developing with Compact, actually if you want to move to SQL Server tomorrow, or you can just change the web.config file. So this is basically entity model. The second is the SQL data source. So how can I create type data sets from Compact? I can do this using this existing SQL data source, which when I try to configure it, it brings up this data source configuration wizard. I can select the Northwind40.sco file, which I was working with earlier in my EDM model. So let me go ahead and create a data set, type data set for let's say the employees table. And if I do some test query, it works fine. Okay, so now I have a SQL data source also here, and I can wire up my data grid view with this source, and it's already changed this particular table here. And if I do a F5, okay, so it was able to pull out data both from a data set and also from an EDM data wizard. So basically, Visual Studio will be the place where you will get all the functionality that you use with SQL Server with SQL Server Compact. Was everyone able to see this properly?
I'm not seeing any complaints at this time.
Okay, that's great. So why don't we go ahead and look at some of the other things that we have. So we're going to switch back to our content, back to those slides. Okay, so basically, so I'm going to go a bit faster from here. We still have some ground to cover. So if I go a bit more faster than you are able to hear me properly, then let me know. So this is we go back to our slides. Okay, so we just saw a demo about all the designers working, or at least 2 of the designers working with the Compact, and we saw a promise that we'll have more of these designers working later. So some of the things that will help you as you start developing with Compact is to understand the connection strings. Basically, there are 2 ways where you can specify a connection string or a source database. One is to give a full database path, and the second is to basically use the data directory macro. And the data directory macro is the preferred path because your website may be deployed at different locations where you may not know the full path to the database file. Okay. Apart from that, one thing to be aware of is there is a parameter in the connection string of Compact which is called as max database size. And this max database files defaults to 128 MB megabytes for devices and 256 megabytes for desktop. So in case you expect your database to grow more than 256 megabytes, you need to change that max database file to the appropriate value. If you don't do it, you will not be able to connect to that database file. The reason is that Compact works on shared memories, and that if you don't specify the max database size correctly, then that shared memories cannot be created properly. Okay, so looking at some of the other things that may affect the way that you work on your website. The first thing we discussed is the data source. The second thing is that you can encrypt a database file using the password. One thing to remember is that a Compact database file is a database file itself. It's just a file. So if you encrypt it, you actually encrypt the whole file with a password. And then you can specify encryption modes which are like platform default, engine default. Platform default is both platform and engine default are SHA-2. Platform default is SHA-256 and engine default is SHA-512. It's a way of representing that information. A max database size, take care. If you believe your database file size will grow up to 4 GB, you need to specify 4000 as a parameter, which in turn converts to 4 GB. Max buffer size is basically the buffer that you have, which you can use to keep your pages in the memory, in the RAM. If it is more than 640 KB, which is the default size, then those pages will be flushed to the disk. We have a bunch of modes. As I mentioned earlier, you can do a read-write, you can do a read-only, you can do exclusive or shared read. In this exclusive, basically the first process, or the first process which opens the database files locks it, so nobody else can actually open it. Similarly, you have read-only connections, and shared read is that only one particular process or will be making changes, updates to your database file. Rest can only read. Flush interval is how much of changes will be kept in memory before they are flushed with the disk. Right now, the default is 10 seconds. Auto shrink is basically it's a self-maintaining configuration parameter for Compact. This means that if you have more than 60% free space, then Compact will automatically start doing auto shrink, where it will reorder its pages to give you better performance. If you make this number is 100, then the auto shrink feature will be disabled. There is a concept of temporary file directory, and temporary file limits. These are used in case you want temporary files, and if you don't specify it, the actual database file is used for the temporary files also. So in case you're wondering that if you ship Compact database file as part of app.data, then what happens? If you don't specify a temporary file, basically the same database file is used for any temporary purposes. The temporary files are required for sorting of data. Let's say if you use an order by kind of clause in the T-SQL syntax, then the data has to be sorted. Compact uses some temporary files and pages to do that. If you don't specify this file, it just uses its own file or the main file. Okay, so this is where things might get a little bit more interesting. We have all seen, heard, and even the people like me who are coming from the Windows desktop kind of world or the mobile devices, we also know that getting a connection string for a database for website hosting can be a challenging part as developing that website. In terms of Compact, you actually don't need to do that. You can, as you see on this graphic here, you can deploy your Compact completely within your website under the bin folders. A couple of things to take care of. You should always deploy both the 64-bit and the 32-bit Compact components under two different folders, AMD64 and x86. The reason we have AMD64 is that we are using this get environment variables, and this actually returns AMD64. It's also applicable for Intel x64 architectures. One thing to note here is that all the native components are within this AMD64 x86 subdirectories below bin, but you see the system.data.sql server c.dll, which actually is a managed provider for Compact outside it. Because this is an MSIL, it's not processor specific. So you can put it below the build directory itself, rest goes under subdirectories. One thing to note, and this I will show in the next demo, which is just coming up, is that you need to copy these DLLs when you're deploying in your website from the private folder. So we'll look at this private folder in a minute. Okay, the reason we have this stack here is not to impress you with a whole lot of stuff that we are doing. It's just to correlate this information that we saw a minute earlier, is all these different DLLs with this particular stack, so that when you deploy a Compact in your website, so you know what you are doing. So here we have a native stack and a managed stack. Yes, Compact still supports C++ or native applications, which come through the OLEDB layer. So Compact has an OLEDB layer, which is not of interest to the website or the ASP.NET developers. In the managed stack, there is a ADA.NET and there is a ADA.NET ND framework provider for Compact, which can work with .NET FX or .NET Compact framework. You'll be interested to know is that we have same code for desktop, for devices, and for website. We do have a bunch of if tips, but we maintain almost same code for all of these different platforms. And then we have this query processor, which actually takes your T-SQL queries, and then it can, it will compile them, it will parse them, and it will create a structure which can then be consumed by the storage engine layer, which is the one which talks with all the file systems. And then it can, the storage engine layer will be the one which will read the database file of Compact and then insert, update, and delete data from that file. So query processor is the parsing engine. Storage engine is the one which gives you the ACID principles, which is it gives you the transactions, isolations, consistency, etc. We also support devices, and the main place where all of this will come together for development and deployment is Visual Studio, as we just saw. So if you are deploying Compact DLLs for your website, remember you don't have to deploy everything. You just have to deploy the query processor, QP, storage engine, SE, ME is the managed extensions. Basically, this is a DLL which sits in between the managed layer, the native layer, and then it does the extensions or the serializations between the managed and the native layers. SQL Compact is basically a maintenance DLL. Basically, you can use this DLL to compact the database, which will reorder all the pages in the database file. And if in case you see some corruptions, it can recover the database file from corruption. It's a maintenance kind of a file. And the error DLL is, this SQL ERR. So depending upon what you need, you just need these DLLs to be there. You don't need other DLLs for replications, other things. So I have a list of DLLs here. You need SC, QP, ME, the managed DLL. If you want, you can include the compact because it does the compression and upgrade. And then you have these other DLLs, which is the client agent, which is used for replication, OLEDB is for native. Error is, if you want to have error strings, then you can also include this. Okay, so we are going to get into the demo stage. So let me share my desktop. Okay, can you see my desktop?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a pre-built, right? So earlier we saw applications where we built using designers. Now I'm going to use a pre-built application. I'm going to run it. So here I have an iBuySpy kind of an application. I have this web.config file which I've just opened up. You can see a bunch of different connection strings here. The first one is for 3.5. The second one is for 4.0. The third one is for SQL Server Express. Let me just do a F5 quickly. And just to give you the proof, which you may already have heard, is that it works fine. We'll start off this particular app, a website app, and it's just deploying to the ASP.NET development server. I don't have the IIS Developer Express on this machine right now, but that's already also being looked into. So basically, I'm going to run this whole iBuySpy Swiss website on Compact 4.0. The interesting thing about this website is that it uses the DB provider independent DB provider invariant programming, so that once I write this code, actually I can use it against Compact. I can use it against any different version of SQL Server. Here, look at this particular invariant name. It is system.data.SQL Server C.4.0, and I can I can do a new thread here and see that this website is working fine. Do a refresh. So I get all this working fine here. So this website is a fully functional website. Okay, now what we can do is that why don't we just run it against SQL Server and see what happens at SQL Server Express and see what happens. So I'm going to comment out the connection string for Compact 4.0, uncomment for SQL Server Express, and do a F5 to deploy it to the ASP.NET development server. And we should see it just coming up shortly. So these are some of the uses that people are thinking about. You can use Compact for startup website. You can use it for demo purposes. It doesn't take a lot. It's easy to install. So this is running against SQL Server. The invariant name is system.data.SQL client. Let me do a discussion here. So I'll put some new information. And it works fine. So let's just see what happens when we try to use it with 3.5, which was the earlier version of Compact. So I'm going to run it against Compact 3.5. And okay, so it's not saying it can run. So it's saying it's basically there is a it's saying basically it cannot be used because of some configuration error. The issue is that Compact 3.5 was actually locked down, and we did not allow it to be used. Allowed it to be used for website. There was a soft lock. You could always flip a flag and use it against use it in websites. But the reason we stopped it is that we were not sure whether it can work fine. So I just want to show you some code. So this whole code which has been written is DB provider factory based, and that is the reason that I can just switch between this website from Compact to SQL Server because it's all DB provider factory. This also shows that how much of compatibility is there between Compact and SQL Server, because we are using different T-SQL syntax here. We're using different data types. So continuing ahead with our, so I'm going to go back to my live meeting session. Okay, so we just saw a demo of iBuySpy, and we saw that Compact 4.0 can be used there. We switched between different versions of between Compact and SQL Express, and things are working fine. One thing I am not sure whether you noticed here or not is that I had used private deployment when I was actually showing you the iBuySpy. In the next time I actually go to my desktop, I will show you that. So let's look at a couple of features which you will find interesting. There are a bunch of features we already have in Compact, but these are specifically the features that we built for the ASP.NET web development community. So we had done a lot of work to make this product reliable. So we looked at the internals of this product. We looked at the way that our native objects are getting disposed, and there were cases when you have multi-threaded situations, when you have the cases that some threads are going down, some threads are doing new requests. There were some deadlock conditions happening. Those deadlock conditions have been fixed. There were a couple of cases where access violation conditions happened in multi-threaded cases, especially with using temporary cursors. So these cursors are the ones which actually give you back the data, which you can use in your website. The tables that we saw in the type data set demo and in the Entity Framework demo, they all actually are using cursors below to get that data and iterate through it. One of the things that we had seen is that there were version mismatch errors which were coming in the earlier releases of Compact. They have been fixed, and we have ensured that there are setup improvements so that you don't face this error. One of the things to note is that a Compact 64-bit MSI can only install in a 64-bit machine, and an x86 MSI can only install in a 32-bit machine. One of the main things for ASP.NET is that you should be able to ideally have 256, the maximum limit of Compact concurrent connections. So we did a work in a virtual memory consumption, and we reduced the virtual memory consumption, and that is the reason that you can have a lot of concurrent connections up to the limit of 256, and you will not run out of virtual memory. One of the things that we have observed is that there is a lot of demand for the provider independent programming. So we had worked with the Entity Framework to enable the code first. There is a CTP out right now. So basically, you don't need to start off with a database or with a model to work with Entity Framework. You can start with your plain old CLR classes, and then you can develop the database right in the fly. There was one of the missing gaps was there. Compact was not supporting server-generated keys. That means that if you had a Compact table with identity and which was automatically generated by Compact, you could not use Entity Framework with that. You would have got an error that this is not supported. So that was fixed in the Compact 4.0 CTP1 release, and it works with the Entity Framework CTP4, which is available for download just last week. There were a couple of gaps. For example, you could not use DB connection get schema to get the schema out of Compact, and this so basically there was a gap between the system.data common API set and Compact, and that was filled up. So there is a lot of demand for paging queries because in website you go from page 1 to page 2, and that is implemented in databases using the offset fetch transact SQL syntax. We had built this offset and fetch syntax to enable the paging queries in website, and I have a demo which I will also show here. In addition, the existing support that we have for type dataset, type adapter, the automatic code generators, as we just saw, they're all available. So one of the things that you should be aware of is that we support some special cursors which are called as SQL result set. The interesting thing about this cursor in relation to data sets is that these are very fast. So these cursors are in between data readers and data sets. And what happens is that not only can you use this cursor to scroll against data in a compact database, you can also use them to update a compact database. So they are fast. You can use them for updating data, but the problem is that these cursors are very special case for compact. So if you use them, if you want a website to move to SQL Server tomorrow, you will have a problem because these are not supported in SQL Server. So we'll do a quick demo of these different things that we have. Okay, so what I want to show first is that basically let me show you that this iBuySwiss website that we just saw actually had the compact DLLs deployed here, right here inside this website. So you can find all the DLLs are here, including this area.net provider. So I was using private deployment in my case.
Hey, Ambrish, we're currently seeing icons in a desktop again. Are you showing Visual Studio?
Okay, let me do this again. Okay, can you see my desktop now? Blue color?
I see your desktop, yes, but we don't see anything other than that.
Okay, okay. Can you see VS 2008 shell? So I'm switching between VSs also.
I don't. I just see your desktop.
Okay.
We can see the Visual Studio is open, but I think it's open somewhere else.
No, it's here. Okay. 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 So I've just shared my desktop and I've opened a Visual Studio here.
We still only see the desktop itself. We see Internet Explorer and Visual Studio and so on. However, we don't actually see the programs themselves.
Okay, fine. Let me just open it up. Can you see the VS now?
Yep.
Okay, fine. Let me do this demo. So here I'm going to do an offset fetch demo. So this is the syntax that we built especially for ASP.NET. So I have a query, below this, so I can do a offset size, which means that it's going to skip these many rows, and a fetch size, which means it's going to get these many rows. So I can do that, and based on these different criteria that I specify here, I can skip rows and get those many rows. So basically these are used for the paging queries. Let me show you something which is going to be very useful for you. And so basically I mentioned about the virtual memory. So let's see what happens if I do the virtual memory for 3.5. So I'm going to start collecting data here. So this is a perfmon, and I'm going to run a 3.5 app, small app, and let's see what happens in the virtual memory. This is actually scaled. You can see that it's just eating up virtual memory, and in a few seconds it will tell us that it's just done 30 connections. So this data here is scaled, but you can see that amount of memory taken here was quite significant. I will do the same thing with 4auto. I'm going to start it off here. Let's see what it captures. And now you see that it went down, and this is 4auto. I'm again connecting 30, I have 30, I'm going to do 30 open connections, and you can see that the virtual memory is not being eaten up at all. It's almost stable. So even after creating all the 30 different threads, the virtual memory has just gone up by couple of percent, 0.001 percentage points like that. So this is what is the virtual memory work that we have done for ASP.NET applications. So let me show you this example about CodeFirst. So this is my debug directory of my app. There is no database here. So I will just run this app here. So it should create that database for me. And I have also in this app, I have just entered, some values. So here, the database has come here. And if you, the way it happens is that basically it's generating a T-SQL script in the background, and that script is the one which is actually creating that database. Okay, so this is what. So let me go back to my. So what we saw is that virtual memory has been highly optimized for ASP.NET apps. We have built offset and fetch for paging queries. We have enabled compact for CodeFirst, where you can actually create database right from a C# objects, and you can also, change that schema also. So let me do a short recap here. Why would you want to use SQL Server Compact? Because it's very free. It's basically free. It's fast. You can encrypt it, and it's basically a file. And that file has got no code. It does not support stored procedures. It does not support functions and views. And because we do not support these things, our file has no code. So even if you share that file using email, basically it's very safe because there is no code and nobody can actually inject code into it. You have a whole set of development experience in Visual Studio. Right now, the Webmetrics Beta Editor is also can be used for developing for Compact, and that websites here can be easily upgraded to or can be used again in BWD or VS. Compact has a very doc-centric file format, which means that it does not have a concept of users. So we don't have users and roles in it. So anybody can open that file. Any application can open that file. And the way to basically protect this is to encrypt it. And the encryption algorithms that we have are SHA-2, which are the best in the breed as of now. And it provides for a seamless migration of schema and data to SQL Server. So if your needs grow, if you want to go to a full-fledged database, then you can move into SQL Server. So basically, let me see if there are any questions here. Okay, so this was the information that I had for SQL Server Compact. If you have any questions, then you can go to our blog or to our forums, and also you can refer to the different places where the CTP1 and the betas are available. So thanks a lot, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Ambrish. Okay, for guys that are coming in for Jeremy, what I'm going to do is run the introduction video real quick, and then we'll introduce Jeremy, and then we'll have him up and running. Hold on one sec. Let me try that again, guys.
This presentation was recorded at MVCConf. For more content like this, go to www.mvcconf.com.